U.S. President Donald Trump threatens the EU with 25% import tariffs, rattling global markets. Nvidia's Q4 earnings report showcased a 78% revenue surge to a staggering $39 billion. And Manchester United now grappling with the stormy days both on the pitch and behind closed doors, forcing a fresh wave of cuts to stem the financial tide. Hello, I'm Jafar Haslan with the latest business and finance news here on TRT World. We begin with the latest trade developments that have sparked intense discussions as President Donald Trump sharpens his focus on international economic policies. With threats of tariffs targeting major global players, the stakes are rising for businesses, government and consumers alike. The ripples of these decisions could reshape markets and redefine relationships across borders, setting the stage for a pivotal moment in global commerce. President Donald Trump's threat of a 25% tariff on EU goods, especially cars, could cost the bloc billions. This move aims to pressure Europe into rethinking trade policies, hitting an economy already bracing for impact. A 25% tax on European imports, like vehicles, could slash more than $10 billion from the US-EU trade flow annually. American firms may cheer, but retaliation looms, threatening jobs and prices on both sides of the Atlantic. Trump has hinted April to start for 25% tariffs on Mexico and Canada could disrupt $200 billion in North American trade. Delayed once, this deadline now tests border security talks and economic stability. For more on this, I'm joined by Nadia El-Bilesi. She is an Equity Group Senior Market Analyst. Great to have you here with us on TRT World. So how will a 25% EU tariff affect car prices here?
Good morning. Thanks for having me. So this is coming in the midst of already very high competition coming from China because everyone's going to cheaper options right now, especially electric vehicles with no carbon emissions. So the 25% tariffs is going to add to decreased global demand. So now American citizens, they're going to opt for decreased global demand and they're going to choose more local demand, and that's what Trump aims for, obviously. So he aims actually for decreasing the trade deficit between Europe and the US because there is a 213 billion trade deficit US dollars, which is equivalent to 173 billion pounds. This is the trade deficit that he wants to basically decrease. He called it an atrocity. And obviously, the UK, aside from that, it's more of a surplus. It's nothing to do with with Europe. Europe is more of a trade deficit that he wants to cut down on. This is going to affect everything from car manufacturers to factories. They're going to have to size down on a global scale, and they're going to have to let go of a lot of workers because of increased demand, decreased production, and decreased demand. So they're going to have to do a lot of sizing down, and this is definitely going to cost them a lot of billions of dollars.
Can the UK avoid collateral damage from this trade route?
I think so far the UK can avoid that because, as I mentioned before, that the main problem with Europe is the trade deficit that's huge, whereas with the UK it's just not the same. It's the deficit. The deficit is not just it's not the same. There's no amount of it actually could add up to a surplus. So the economic equilibrium is just not the same. I guess with the UK things are going to be quite different. They're hoping that they could actually find some truce to this and that they could be spared from the tariffs. So far, Trump hasn't mentioned any tariffs that are going to be hit on the UK. So far, things are okay with the UK. But if they were imposed, a 2022 study had actually, there was a survey back in 2022 that if tariffs were imposed on the UK, it could actually hit GDP levels by -5%, and it could also shatter the sterling so much as 10% in the face of the US dollar, as the US dollar rises in the midst of higher tariffs and a trade war that would boost demand for the dollar, not just because it's the US currency, but also as safe haven demand increases in the midst of geopolitical uncertainties.
Thanks very much for joining us here on TRT World, Nadia. I really appreciate your taking out the time.
Thank you.
Nvidia's profits and revenues soared in the fourth quarter as the artificial intelligence boom keeps fueling demand for its advanced chips. The tech giant remains the dominant force in AI accelerators, and its latest earnings show that its extraordinary success is far from over. Sales continue to surge, driven by Nvidia's data center graphics processing units. The tech giant posted a 78% jump in revenue to top $39 billion in the quarter to the end of January, while full-year sales more than doubled to $130.5 billion. Net income reached $22.1 billion, an 80% increase from a year earlier. That is even as operating expenses surged by 50% due to the transition to more complex and higher-cost Blackwell systems. For the first quarter, Nvidia expects revenue around $43 billion, just above analyst estimates. That still marks a 65% growth from a year ago, though it is a slowdown from last year's explosive gains of 262%. Despite sky-high numbers, Nvidia's stock barely moved in after-hours trading. Nvidia had been among the top-performing stocks on Wall Street over the past 2 years, as it is seen at the center of the AI race, powering the industry's biggest ambitions. In a unique form of protest, over 1,000 British musicians have come together to release a silent album. The collective action challenges proposed UK copyright law change that could allow artificial intelligence companies to use artists' works without explicit permission. Tulay Kalion reports.
Of silence. The album, titled Is This What We Want, features 12 tracks of complete silence, an artistic statement against the UK government's proposed changes to copyright law. The project includes musical heavyweights such as Kate Bush, Damon Albarn and Yusuf Islam.
There is no choice but to campaign about this really salient issue. Generative AI competes with the work that it's trained on and the people behind that work. And that's why this is so terrible. We're not saying get rid of AI, but all of us, thousands of musicians who've come together, are absolutely adamant that we need to protect the value of copyright. Copyright protects our work, but also it enables us to create new music and create great content for the music industry. It's absolutely terrible that the blue chip companies are effectively going to be profiting from all our work before we've even released it.
In late 2024, the UK government proposed changes to copyright law that would let artificial intelligence companies to train their models using copyrighted works without a license. According to UK Music's 2024 annual economic report, the industry's contribution to the economy in 2023 hit a record $9.6 billion in terms of gross value added. UK music export revenue in 2023 also reached a new high of $5.8 billion. And total UK music industry employment hit a record 216,000. But now the UK music industry faces challenges from AI that threaten its world-leading status.
We are worth billions to the UK economy and we employ millions of people. And it's copyright, which is gold standard and globally renowned, that enables us to be huge exporters of our creative output and our creative work. So it simply doesn't make sense at a time when we're all focused on economic growth and the creative industries is one of those 8 priority sectors to be handing over our crown jewels without permission, without payment, for free.
The UK government says the proposed changes aim to balance the advancement of AI technology with the rights of content creators, but many musicians disagree. British musicians aren't the first creative workers to fight for protection from AI, and they certainly won't be the last. In 2023, American screenwriters protested against AI and they won. Now let's see if British music makers can do the same. Profits from the album will be donated to the musicians' charity Help Musicians. And although the album is completely silent, the message is loud and clear. The British government mustn't legalize music theft to benefit AI companies. Tülay Kalyon, Hazindaroğlu, TRT World, London.
Within hours of taking office, Donald Trump announced a 90-day freeze on foreign aid. Among the affected projects, a crucial water initiative in Pakistan's southern region that is also the hottest place in Asia. So how will the people of Jacobabad cope? Lara Kilij Arslan reports.
Jacobabad, a city in southern Pakistan, is used to extreme heat. In 2022, it was the hottest city in the world. Temperatures here often climb above 50 centigrade degrees. It's not just uncomfortable, it's dangerous. People face critical health problems like dehydration and heat stroke. Back in 2012, hope arrived in the form of a $66 million lifeline from USAID. The plan was simple: provide access to fresh, filtered water. To make it happen, they set out to upgrade water supplies and the sanitation systems by pumping water from a canal 22 kilometers away. For 350,000 people, it was a miracle. 1.5 million gallons of clean water every day. It worked until now. HANS, the Pakistani Health and Nutrition Development Society, is a non-profit organization. They report that the recent funding freeze from the US government has cut $1.5 million of income. 47 staff who manage the water purification and maintain the infrastructure have been sent home. Unless new money is found, the project is at risk of shutting down in just a few months. Noor Ahmed, an 18-year-old student, expressed concern.
Jacobabad, the hottest city in Pakistan, experiences extreme heat. If we do not get this water in the summer, we will face serious difficulties. Water is an essential part of life. Without it, survival is impossible, whether for humans, animals, or any other living beings. Water is the most important necessity for us.
Residents fear a return to the dangerous private water supplies they once relied upon. Expensive, contaminated water from donkey-drawn tankers.
The dirty water we used to buy was harmful to our health, and falling ill would cost us even more.
Since everything is just suspended, so we have to withdraw our staff and we have to withdraw our all services for this water project. But water is more than a life-saving medicine. Water is life.
Due to climate change, heat waves are more common, becoming fiercer and more deadly. Pakistan is now calling for global support to tackle this problem. And Jacobabad's residents are desperately hoping the US will reconsider its freeze on funding. Lara Kilij Arslan, TRT World.
Let's cross now to Lahore in Pakistan and bring in Osama Rizvi. He's a primary vision energy economic analyst. Good to have you here on the program. So how will the aid freeze impact Jacobabad's water project?
Well, as mentioned in the introduction, about 350,000 people are at the mercy of this project, and now with the aid suspended, I believe they are going to face a lot of issues because essentially there's nothing that goes beyond water security. And to be honest, I feel and I believe there should be a mandatory requirement for other private, public companies and organizations to chip in and to get this running, because Jacobabad is one of the hottest cities in Pakistan and also in the world. And even right now, the temperature is expected to cross 30 degrees centigrade as soon as next weekend, and we're still in winters. So it's of crucial importance that we should not look at outside support right now. China can chip in, Saudi Arabia can chip in, UAE can chip in, but right now, our companies, public and private sector, should keep this project running, because there is, if not, then it's a humanitarian crisis for them.
Right, and what long-term consequences might local communities face amid these cuts?
Well, there are a lot. You see, Pakistan had, I believe, about 60 US-funded healthcare facilities. And it's not only the city. If you look at Sindh's Chicago district, about 100 workers were laid off for a TB, tuberculosis funded project by the USAID. And Pakistan has a very high TB burden, and about 600,000 people get it annually. Similarly, more than 210,000 people in Pakistan living with HIV, and that project was also cut off. Scholarship, grants, educational programs for academics, that is going to suffer a lot. So there are short-term effects as well, but there are long-term structural issues as well that are going to show in the coming years. And that is why I believe we need to set our own house in order and stop relying on foreign aid altogether. And, we need to we need to pull the foreign aid instead of asking people to push it. So, yeah, we need to shift our strategy altogether.
Right, and can international pressure reverse Donald Trump's 90-day foreign aid freeze? What do you think?
Well, there has been historical precedents to it as well. So far, there has been no very strict or significant opposition coming from the Congress. In theory, yes, international pressure can sort of halt or overturn the decision, but practically it is not very possible. And with America's first policy taking precedence in the White House, I think, unfortunately, it will not happen.
Right, and how do you think local authorities can mitigate the worsening water crisis in the country?
Well, Pakistan wastes a lot of water. 7 million MAF is lost to the sea. In Karachi, for instance, 40% of the water is either stolen or wasted because of connections and poor infrastructure. Agriculture consumes 80% of Pakistan's water, and we need to include efficient agricultural practices. We need to double down on the theft of water and also improve the infrastructure such as reservoirs.
That's Osama Rizvi. Thank you very much, Osama, for joining me here on TRT World. Manchester United Football Club are having a tough time of it, both on the pitch and in the boardroom. They only squeezed past relegation stragglers Ipswich Town on Wednesday night, revealing the club's steady decline over the last season or two. And poor results equals poor returns. So much so, a new round of cost-cutting measures have been introduced. Robin Adams examines the financial crisis at Old Trafford.
Manchester United, former champions of England and Europe.
United win it!
Winners of multiple FA Cup, League Cup and Super Cup titles. One of the biggest clubs in the world. But the latest chapter in their history is heartbreaking and indeed worrying, because we are now witnessing a great football club in a downward spiral. Amidst the questionable performances, the players have managed to crack the odd smile and rare chuckle. In the club's social media promo videos, seemingly published to convey a message to the tens of millions of fans around the world that everything is going to be all right. But it's been no laughing matter for staff who've had to pay the ultimate price. Last year, nearly 250 employees lost their jobs in the first round of cost-cutting measures. And now, 150 to 200 workers are also facing the chop. The staff canteen has been shut down, so no more free meals, with United hoping it will save them $1.27 million a year. Matchday ticket prices have been increased to $83 in order to generate more revenue. However, senior citizens and kids pay the same flat rate, no concessions. The pricey tickets have, of course, allowed fans a clear view to one embarrassing Man United performance after the next.
And we can change everything in a few years. I don't know how long it's going to take. In this moment, we are in a difficult situation.
With the Red Devils facing a dismal finish in the Premier League this term, they're currently 15th. There'll be less money flowing into the club's coffers. Lose in the Europa League and they can also kiss goodbye to their Champions League hopes next season. That also means less revenue, which in turn will hamper Ruben Amorim's plans to bring in new players. A restructure when Jim Ratcliffe and his Ineos group took over at Man United in 2024 also came at a great cost. United paid over $5 million to hire sporting director Dan Ashworth and then quickly sacked him. Erik ten Hag and his technical team were given golden handshakes to the tune of $18.3 million when they were given the boot. United had to dig deep to bring in new boss Amorim from Portuguese side Sporting Lisbon. It cost the club $13.8 million. The club has consistently squandered money over the last few financial periods. They were $142.8 million in the red last year. $36.2 million the year before, and $145.7 million in 2021-2022. The total losses over the last 5 years, $467 million. Amarim has admitted his job is mission impossible.
Every game until the end of the season is a big game for us.
And the end of what's been a train wreck of a season cannot come soon enough for him, his technical staff, the players, and most importantly, the club supporters. Robert Adams, TRT World.
Let's cross now to London, and joining me is Calvin Emeka Onwuka. He's a publisher at ACL Sports. Calvin, great to have you here on the program, so thanks for joining me as well. I was told you are a Man U fan, and congratulations on the win against Ipswich last night. However, we have to agree that the club's current form is sinking faster than a leaky defence. How deep do you think these cost-cutting measures will need to dive to keep the club afloat financially?
Thanks for having me. The truth of the matter is this: I got the email as a premium member of Manchester United Football Club. I got the email about this cost cutting, and I was thinking to myself, why are you sacking these people? These are not the people to sack. The cost cutting should start on the pitch. There are too many underperforming but overpaid footballers at the football club at this point in time, and they are the ones that should go first. Their wages are the ones that they should find a way to train and keep these people who are not on the pitch. I remember years and years ago, Sam Allardyce, when he was the manager of Bolton, used to say something. He said that their work at Bolton, the players on the pitch, they are the ones who are keeping this non-football side of the staffing level. They're the ones keeping them in the job. And that is the truth. So if these folks are not performing well, why are we taking it out on them by cutting out these people who are outside of the football area? That's not right. That's not going to help. The truth of the matter is the football club on the pitch are not producing the results, and because they're not winning trophies, they're not earning the kind of money. Being in the Champions League, for instance, being in the Champions League, going past the first round, going to the knockout stages, gives the club a lot of money. Who is responsible? Starts on them.
I think we lost the connection there briefly, but I think he's back with us now. So the Red Devils have been offside with success lately. Do you reckon this boardroom shake-up is a fair tackle to get them back in the game, or just more foul play?
It's not going to help. Like I was saying earlier, the main work is on the pitch. The main work is to get Amorim and his players winning more matches. At this point in time, winning the FA Cup, winning the Europa League will do far more for the team than any of these poor people that have been sacked or they are going to lose their jobs in the future. The club needs Manchester United firing all cylinders and winning more matches, winning big trophies. The FA Cup, retain the FA Cup, win the Europa League, get into the Champions League for next season, and that just easy. Turnover will start to increase by doing that.
Right, and Calvin fans are calling this a relegation from glory. How much of this downturn is down to a lack of goals on the pitch versus a miscued strategy up top in the executive suite?
I think Ineos took over in February of 2024, and they have been shambolic in everything they've done. They took over after the FA Cup win in the summer. They extended manager Eric Ten Hag's contract. And after the way United finished poorly in the league, everybody thought, I even wrote about it, that Manchester United would have to sack Eric Ten Hag in the summer. They didn't do that. They didn't sack him. And then what did they do? They sack him in November. And then they go to Portugal and import this young man to come to Manchester United to come in mid-season. And it's been a struggle since. Manchester United have scored 33 goals all season. Manchester United are 14th on the league table. Manchester United have 33 points. It is dreadful. So that's what needs to be fixed, not this stuff that they're doing outside. They need to fix that and fix that really, really quickly. Until then, every other thing, nothing else will work until they fix what happens on the pitch.
Calvin, fascinating insights. Thanks very much for joining me here on TRT World. Appreciate your taking out the time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And now let's take a quick look at some business stories from around the world. U.S. President Donald Trump said he's canceling the import of oil from Venezuela, accusing Nicolas Maduro for failing to honor promises like accepting deported Venezuelans. Analysts say Chevron's absence in the Latin American country could deprive Venezuela of $150 to $200 million a month. BP has announced plans to increase its annual oil and gas investment to $10 billion through 2027, marking a major shift in its strategy. The company will lower its overall capital expenditure to between $13 and $15 billion. BP is moving to relocate resources to their highest returning businesses to drive growth. Seven & i Holdings announced that the founding Ito family could not secure funding for a $58 billion buyout, prompting the company to consider a rival proposal from Canada. The firm is exploring all opportunities to unlock value for shareholders, including a range of strategic alternatives. The Netherlands is famous for its iconic windmills, and much like its past, wind power is now shaping its future. Celine Tuter reports.
In the Netherlands, windmills are more than just a picture-perfect postcard. They are a part of the country's heart and history.
Well, the miller's craft it's on the list of UNESCO of intangible heritage. So we want to preserve the craft of the miller. And to preserve the craft, we need to preserve the mill. We need to preserve a good surrounding with wind and water for the mill.
For centuries, these towering structures help drain water, saw wood, and grind grain. Now, a record number of people are training to keep them moving.
I think it's very important to keep the 1,200 mills we still have. And a mill is like a car. It needs to run, it needs to move. Otherwise it becomes wet and wrong. And you need a miller to make the mill move, to make the mill work.
But wind power isn't just about tradition. It's also big business. The Dutch government estimates its offshore wind farms will generate between $1 and $3 billion in direct revenue by 2030. From preserving heritage to boosting economy, wind energy has shaped the past and is driving the future of the Netherlands. Celine Tuter, TRT World.
And that's all your business news for now. Thank you very much for watching.